It all began on a Wednesday afternoon in early spring. I remember the air smelled like rain and fresh-cut grass. I was folding laundry in the living room when my phone buzzed. It was from Vanessa, my sister-in-law. The message was short, casually worded, almost too polite. "Hey, can you watch the kids this weekend? Just Saturday evening. Date night for me," and Tom's smiling face with smiling eyes. I stared at the message for a minute, heart already sinking. This wasn't the first time she'd asked. In fact, it had become a pattern. Every week, sometimes twice, Vanessa would call or text last minute asking me to watch her two kids, Mason and Ellie. I love them, don't get me wrong, but I'm not their parent. And lately, it felt less like a favor and more like an expectation. I had plans that weekend. A long overdue dinner with my best friend. Nothing extravagant, but important to me. For once, I wanted to say no and not feel guilty about it. So I replied, carefully choosing my words. "Hey Vanessa, I actually have plans this Saturday. Can't watch the kids this time. Hope you and Tom still have a great night though." The delivered checkmark appeared. And then, silence. Hours passed. No reply. I told myself it was fine. She was probably busy. But the uneasy feeling in my stomach wouldn't leave. That night, I received a phone call from my brother, Tom. "Hey," he began, his voice clipped. "What's going on with you and Vanessa?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" "She said you refused to help her out, again. She's really upset. Said you made her feel like a burden." I paused. I hadn't said anything like that. I explained my side, but Tom barely listened. He just sighed and muttered, "Whatever, just try to be more understanding." Then he hung up. Understanding? The next morning, Vanessa posted a cryptic status on Facebook. "It's so hard when people you thought were family can't even do the bare minimum for your kids. SMH. Some people are only around when it benefits them." She didn't name names, but it was obvious. The likes and comments from her friends poured in. People offering sympathy, validating her, even throwing shade at the selfish relative. I was stunned. I hadn't been rude. I hadn't lashed out. All I'd done was say no. But somehow, in Vanessa's version of the story, I had become the villain. Over the next few days, tension simmered. My calls to Tom went unanswered. Family group chats became oddly quiet when I chimed in. It was as if I'd been quietly exiled. I tried not to let it get to me. I had my life, my friends, my job. Still, it hurt, being painted as the bad guy, when all I'd done was draw a boundary. But I never expected what came next. The escalation. The first odd thing happened on a Thursday morning. I was leaving for work when I noticed something strange. My trash bin had been overturned in the driveway. Could have been raccoons, I told myself. But when I looked closer, I saw it. The bag had been deliberately torn, and someone had scribbled on the lid of the bin with a black marker. "Nice neighbor, lousy aunt." My heart dropped. Was it a prank? A kid in the neighborhood? Or was someone sending me a message? I tried brushing it off, but 2 days later, someone left an anonymous note in my mailbox. "Family is supposed to show up. Selfish people end up alone." That's when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This was personal, and it was only the beginning. Later that week, I got a call at work from my apartment manager. "Hi, just checking in. We received a complaint about loud shouting and what sounded like child neglect coming from your unit last night." I blinked, stunned. "What? I live alone." "That's what we thought, but someone filed a report. Came through anonymously. We have to look into it." Panic crept in. Vanessa. It had to be her. Who else had motive? Who else knew just how to rattle me? That night I didn't sleep. I kept checking the locks, peering through the blinds. Every knock on the door made me jump. She wanted to scare me, humiliate me, paint me as unstable. And with every step, it was working. I tried confronting her directly. I messaged her on WhatsApp. "Vanessa, I don't know what you think I did, but this is getting out of hand. Can we talk?" She left it on read. No reply. But later that evening, she posted another cryptic message on Facebook. "Crazy how someone can pretend to care about your kids one day and turn into a psycho the next." God protects us from hidden enemies. The comments were full of fire emojis, clapping hands, and the ever-faithful, "You deserve better, mama." And then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, came the police. It was a Saturday morning. I was in my kitchen, making coffee in pajamas, when I heard the knock. Not a polite one. Firm. Intentional. When I opened the door, 2 uniformed officers stood there. "Ma'am, we received a report about a domestic disturbance at this address. Mind if we come in?" I froze. This was beyond petty. This was dangerous. I stood there, frozen in the doorway, clutching my coffee mug like it was a shield. The 2 officers looked calm but serious. One rested his hand near his belt. The other glanced past me into my apartment. "Ma'am, we received an anonymous report of yelling, possible signs of abuse, and disturbances over the last few days. Do you live alone?" I nodded slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. "Yes, I live alone. There's no one else here." The officer nearest to me looked skeptical, or maybe just tired of doing this kind of check. "Mind if we take a quick look around? It won't take long." My hands trembled as I stepped aside. I hadn't done anything wrong, and yet I felt a strange sense of shame, like I needed to prove I was innocent of something that had never even happened. They walked through each room. My small living room, my spotless kitchen, the guest bedroom that hadn't been touched in weeks. It didn't take long. When they returned to the front door, the younger officer gave a small nod. "Everything looks fine. Sorry for the trouble, ma'am. Just doing our due diligence." I managed a weak smile, but my heart was pounding. As they left, one of them turned back. "You might want to consider getting a camera system, just in case. These false reports are getting more common." And just like that, they were gone. I closed the door and locked it. Then I sank to the floor. It wasn't just a family feud anymore. Vanessa had crossed a line. She was weaponizing systems, calling in the authorities, manipulating perception, playing the victim while quietly eroding my reputation. It wasn't just drama. It was calculated. The next few days were a blur of anxiety and second-guessing. I installed a camera outside my front door and one facing my living room, just in case she tried again. I stopped answering unknown numbers. I blocked Vanessa on every platform. But the damage had already started spreading. At our cousin Layla's baby shower, I walked into a room that felt 15 degrees colder. A few people smiled, but others barely looked at me. Vanessa was there, of course, holding court like a queen bee surrounded by loyal drones. When she saw me, her expression was carefully composed, neutral with a hint of surprise, as if I was the one who had ghosted her. I thought maybe we could talk, clear the air in a civil way. But before I could even approach her, she was whispering to someone at her table. A few heads turned, a few eyebrows raised. Whispers followed me through the afternoon like shadows. People glancing my way, then quickly looking away. I felt like a ghost at my own family's event. And then I overheard it. She was investigated, right? Cops came to her place. Probably hiding something. My stomach churned. Vanessa hadn't just weaponized lies. She had set fire to my reputation and was letting the smoke do all the talking. I left early. No one stopped me. It was the following Tuesday when everything truly spiraled. I was at work when I received an email from HR. Subject line: Urgent HR matter. Immediate response required. Confused, I clicked it open. We've received a concern from an anonymous source regarding your conduct outside of work, specifically involving police involvement and alleged instability. While we understand personal matters are complex, we are obligated to look into any report that could affect workplace integrity. I stopped reading. My vision blurred. My hands clenched into fists on my desk. She hadn't just come after my peace or my name. She was coming after my job. That was the moment something inside me shifted. I had spent weeks dodging, hiding, trying to keep the peace. But peace was never what she wanted. She wanted to ruin me, so I decided to fight back. That night, I gathered everything: screenshots of Vanessa's posts, the text messages, the timestamps. I made copies of the police report from their visit. I called the officer and asked for a statement clarifying that the report had been false and no wrongdoing was found. He agreed to provide it. I documented the note in my mailbox. I kept the photo of the vandalized trash bin. I compiled it all into a folder, evidence of a pattern, of harassment, of defamation. Then I sat down and drafted a message to Vanessa. But I didn't send it, because I realized something. People like her feed off confrontation. They twist it into proof of their own righteousness. Instead, I sent a message to my brother, Tom. Tom, I'm not sure what Vanessa has told you, but I need you to know the truth. She's made multiple false reports, harassed me online and off, and now she's trying to interfere with my job. I've documented everything. If this continues, I'll be taking legal action. I didn't get a response right away, but 2 days later, Tom showed up at my door, alone. He looked tired, conflicted, like someone caught between loyalty and truth. I didn't know, he said quietly. She told me you were unhinged, that you were jealous of her, that you hated her kids. I laughed bitterly. I love your kids. I just said no, once, and she decided to destroy me for it. Tom sat on my couch, silent. What do I do? He asked finally. I looked at him for a long moment. You protect your kids. You protect your sister. And you decide who you want raising them. Someone who teaches them manipulation and revenge, or someone who shows them boundaries and respect. He left soon after, said he needed time to think. I didn't hear from him again for a while, but Vanessa did. A week later, I received a call from a private number. This is the civil court office, the woman said. We're notifying you that a no-contact order has been filed under your name. You're not required to attend court, but should anything escalate, this will serve as the first step in documenting harassment. Tom had followed through, and with his support, I was able to breathe again. I still had to rebuild my name, my peace. But Vanessa's game was over. After the no-contact order was filed, I thought things would finally settle. I was wrong. Vanessa didn't retreat quietly. If anything, her fury grew darker and more desperate. The very next week, I found a package on my doorstep. No return address, just my name scrawled in messy handwriting. Inside was a small photo album, the kind you'd find in a thrift store, old and worn. But as I flipped through it, my breath caught. There were pictures of me, taken without my knowledge. One was from a morning walk I take regularly. Another from the grocery store where I'd just been. A few from the front of my apartment building, snapped from a distance. Each page felt like a silent threat. Someone was watching me. My first instinct was to call the police, but I hesitated. Vanessa had already shown she could make false claims. Would they believe me? Was I overreacting? What if this was just some creepy neighbor or stalker unrelated to her? But deep down, I knew. I wasn't just a sister-in-law anymore. I was her target. That night, I sat down with my best friend, Claire. I showed her the photos, explained the entire saga. Her face hardened as she listened. You need to fight this, not just legally but publicly, she said firmly. People like Vanessa thrive on secrets and whispers. If you stay silent, she owns the narrative. I nodded, though I wasn't sure if I had the strength. The thought of exposing family drama to the world was daunting. But something inside me was different now. This wasn't just about babysitting or petty revenge anymore. It was about standing up for myself, reclaiming my peace, and maybe saving others from similar pain. So, with Claire's help, I started recording my story. Not just to clear my name, but to warn others about how quickly boundaries can escalate into dangerous vendettas. I crafted a video titled, When Saying No Sparks of Family War, My Sister-in-Law's Revenge Plan, and posted it on YouTube. I shared every detail, the requests, the refusals, the harassment, the false police report, and the stalking. The response was overwhelming. Comments poured in. People sharing their own stories of family betrayal, support messages, and advice. Some viewers warned me about escalating things further. Others encouraged me to take stronger legal action. And then came an unexpected message from Vanessa herself. It arrived as a private comment on my video. You think this makes you the victim? You don't know the whole story. You ruined everything, and now you want sympathy? Don't play the martyr. The venom in her words was unmistakable. But instead of fear, I felt something else, relief. At least now the mask was off. Days later, Tom reached out again. "I saw your video," he said, voice low over the phone. "I'm sorry. I was blinded by her lies. I should have seen it sooner." We talked for hours. I told him everything I hadn't been able to say before. The fear, the pain, the exhaustion. By the end of the call, I felt something I hadn't in months. Hope. Tom promised to support me fully and to help rebuild the fractured family ties if possible. But that meant Vanessa had to face the consequences of her actions. Meanwhile, Vanessa's attacks slowed down. The no-contact order, the public exposure, and the shifting loyalties left her isolated. She tried to send a few angry emails and messages but quickly found her audience evaporating. One night, I received a voicemail, her voice trembling. "This isn't over," she whispered. "You'll regret crossing me." But that threat felt hollow, because I had taken back my power. Months passed. The police followed up on the stalking photos. A restraining order was issued. Vanessa eventually moved to another state, severing many of her connections here. The family started healing. Tom and I rebuilt our relationship. Layla apologized for her silence and apologized for doubting me. Even my neighbors, who'd once whispered, began smiling and waving. Looking back now, I realized that one simple word, asterisk asterisk, no. Asterisk asterisk was never about babysitting or family favors. It was about standing up for myself in a world where women are often expected to put others first, no matter the cost. It was about boundaries. It was about respect. And yes, it was about surviving the kind of family drama no one talks about. The weeks following Vanessa's departure were quieter, but they brought new challenges, ones I hadn't anticipated. When the storm of conflict settles, you're left not only with the ruins but with the difficult task of rebuilding. My relationship with my brother Tom became a patchwork of cautious conversations and careful trust. We had lost months of connection, fractured by Vanessa's lies and manipulation. Yet slowly the walls came down. One afternoon, as we sat in the small park near my apartment, Tom broke the silence. "I'm sorry," he said, eyes cast to the grass. "I let her poison our family against you. I was blind." I nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and pain. "I know you didn't see it," I replied softly. "But now that you do, what do we do?" Tom took a deep breath. "We rebuild, but on our terms. No more ignoring problems. No more sweeping things under the rug. We face everything, even if it's uncomfortable." His words rang true, because family isn't just about blood. It's about honesty, respect, and sometimes setting boundaries that others may not like. Around that time, I invited my cousins and close relatives over for a small gathering. It was my way of starting fresh, a space to heal. There were awkward moments, sideways glances, tentative smiles, but there were also tears, laughter, and real conversations. Layla, our cousin who had been silent through much of the conflict, approached me quietly. "I'm sorry for doubting you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I should have stood up for you. Family shouldn't tear each other down like that." I took her hand. "It's not just your fault," I said. "We all got caught in the middle, but we can choose how to move forward." Despite the fragile truce, I knew Vanessa's shadow still lingered. Sometimes, the wounds hidden beneath smiles run deep. To protect myself and those I cared about, I began seeking therapy. The harassment and betrayal had left scars, ones that wouldn't simply disappear with time. In those sessions, I learned the power of self-compassion. That saying no was not selfish. That protecting my mental health was an act of courage, not weakness. Most importantly, I learned to forgive not Vanessa, but myself. For the guilt I carried, for the moments I doubted my own instincts. In the months that followed, I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I nurtured friendships I had neglected. I took on new projects at work, focusing on my career and independence. And I opened myself to love again, cautiously but hopefully. One afternoon, while out for coffee, my phone buzzed with a message from Tom. Vanessa called. She wants to talk. My heart sank. Was this a trap? A trick? Or had time softened something once bitter? I debated. I asked friends, my therapist, even my own heart. Finally, I replied, "I'll listen." We agreed to meet at a quiet cafe. Vanessa arrived with a guarded smile, eyes scanning for signs of anger or resentment. Her voice was softer than I remembered. "I'm sorry," she began, "for everything. I was hurt and scared, but that's no excuse." I lost sight of what family means. I studied her carefully. Was this genuine, or just another game? "It took a lot for me to say no," I replied, "and it took even more for me to stand up for myself. But I want to believe people can change." We talked for hours about pain, misunderstandings, and the future. It wasn't easy. There were tears, raised voices, and moments where I thought it might all fall apart again. But by the end, we agreed on one thing. Family doesn't mean endless sacrifice or blind loyalty. It means respect, accountability, and sometimes painful honesty. Months had passed since Vanessa and I met at that quiet cafe. The tension between us softened by reluctant forgiveness and the hope of rebuilding what was broken. But healing isn't linear, and the scars of betrayal linger beneath the surface like old wounds that occasionally ache. I often found myself staring out my window at night, wondering how a simple refusal had triggered such a chain reaction. How one no spiraled into distrust, harassment, and almost shattered my life. Yet, even in the darkest moments, I realized something important. Boundaries save us. The hardest part was learning to trust myself again. Not just my instincts, but my worth. For too long, I had silenced my own feelings to avoid conflict, to be the good sister-in-law, the easy family member, the peacekeeper. But peace built on fear and silence isn't real peace. It's a fragile illusion. Tom became my anchor through it all. We spent weekends hiking, talking about everything from mundane work stresses to the deeper wounds Vanessa had left behind. He told me one afternoon, as we sat watching the sun dip below the trees, "You taught me what it means to stand up for yourself. That sometimes love means saying no, even to family." His words hit me harder than any argument ever could. Because family isn't just who you're born to, it's who supports you when the world feels against you. One day, as I tidied the living room, I found the photo album Vanessa had sent, the one full of stalking pictures. Instead of anger, I felt something unexpected. Closure. I took it outside, and carefully I shredded every page. It was a symbolic letting go, a fear, a pain, of the power she tried to hold over me. I also took time to reconnect with friends I had unintentionally pushed away during the drama. Claire, especially, was a lifeline. She reminded me to laugh, to dream, to live beyond the shadows Vanessa cast. Together, we started a support group online, Boundaries and Healing, for people grappling with toxic family dynamics. The stories we've shared there are raw, painful, and deeply human. But in every story, I see resilience. The greatest lesson I learned? Self-respect isn't selfish. Saying no isn't a door slammed in someone's face. It's a declaration of your worth. Vanessa's revenge plan backfired because I refused to be her victim. I refused to let fear dictate my life. And by standing firm, I found strength I never knew I had. If you're watching this and battling your own family battles, remember this: your voice matters. Your boundaries matter. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is say no, no matter the fallout, no matter the silence that follows. Because in that no, you're protecting your peace, and that peace is everything. Thank you for staying with me through this story. If it resonated, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you feel comfortable, tell me your story in the comments. Let's create a community where strength grows from honesty, and healing begins with truth.